The moment I knew I was being pushed out wasn't when they moved my parking spot. It wasn't when my name disappeared from the company directory. No, it was at 6:15 a.m. on a Tuesday morning when I walked into my office, same time I'd arrived for 18 years, and found a 25-year-old kid sitting behind my desk, feet up on my leather chair, scrolling through my computer files. He looked up, didn't even blink. "Oh, hey," he said, not bothering to take his feet down. "Didn't anyone tell you? This is the Digital Innovation Hub now. We're transforming the space." Jordan Pierce, the CEO's nephew, Stanford MBA with 0 real-world experience. 50,000 LinkedIn followers where he posted about disrupting wealth management. And apparently my replacement. My name's Thomas Bradford, Tom to most people. I'm 45 years old, Air Force veteran, 18 years at Sterling Wealth Management here in Dallas. We manage $2.8 billion in client assets. Or we did before things went sideways. "Where's my stuff?" I asked. He gestured vaguely toward the door. "Facilities moved it. Basement storage area, I think. We needed the executive floor space for collaborative innovation." I stared at him. He'd already redecorated. My framed certification's gone. The photo of my squadron in Kuwait gone. My client appreciation plaques gone, replaced with motivational posters that said things like "disrupt or die" and an LED sign that blinked growth mode. "Right," I said. "The basement. Oh, and Tom." He smiled. The kind of smile that doesn't reach the eyes. "Uncle Ron wants to see you at 9. Something about role optimization." Ron, his uncle. Ronald Pierce, our CEO, currently experiencing what I can only describe as a corporate midlife crisis. I didn't argue, just turned and walked to the elevator. Found my stuff 10 minutes later in the basement storage room, flickering fluorescent lights and concrete floors, my desk items thrown into cardboard boxes, my files stacked carelessly against a wall, my Air Force shadow box, the one with my service ribbons and commendation medal, was sitting in a trash bin outside the building, just sitting there on top of pizza boxes and coffee cups. Like 18 years of service was yesterday's garbage. I picked it up, dusted it off, carried it back inside. That's when I stopped being angry and started getting precise. In the Air Force, we had a saying, when someone's trying to ground you, you don't fight the tower. You document every violation and let the system handle it. Jordan was about to learn what that meant. Here's what you need to understand about how I got here. Last April, 7 months ago, Ron had a situation. Some questionable expense reports from a Vegas conference got leaked along with photos that didn't look great for a married CEO. The board panicked. They needed someone clean, someone clients trusted to hold things steady while Ron's lawyers handled the mess. They made me acting senior vice president that April. Emergency board vote, effective immediately. The merger with a European asset management firm had just been announced in March. Now it was chaos, and they needed someone to keep the regulators happy. There was paperwork, board memos, official notifications. My signature authority expanded, and I was listed as primary compliance officer on all regulatory filings with the SEC and FINRA. Temporary, they said, just until things settle down. Then in May, right after my appointment, Ron brought in Jordan, said we needed to modernize our client engagement and attract younger investors. He was supposed to handle digital marketing and social media. That lasted about 2 weeks. By June, he was sitting in partner meetings. By August, he had a made-up title that hadn't existed before, Chief Digital Strategy Officer. By October, he had my office, and I was in a basement with boxes of compliance files from 2003. Nobody had officially changed my title. Nobody had revoked my acting SVP designation. They just moved me, quietly displaced me like I'd become furniture they didn't want anymore. The basement office was a joke. A folding table, a metal chair, a corner of the storage room that smelled like old paper and disappointment. My computer monitor sat on a cardboard box because they hadn't even bothered to bring down a proper desk. I set up my laptop, started going through files. 18 years of documentation, all backed up and organized exactly the way the Air Force taught me. You learn certain things in the service. When someone's trying to push you out, you don't fight back immediately. You observe, you document, you wait for them to make the mistake they don't know they're making. And I knew Jordan would make mistakes. He already was. At 9 a.m., I went upstairs to Ron's office. His assistant waved me in without looking up from her phone. Ron was at his desk, typing on his laptop, wearing a hoodie that probably cost $300. He'd started dressing like a tech founder lately. said it made him more relatable. Tom? Hey. He gestured to the chair across from him. Didn't look up. Thanks for being flexible about the office situation. Flexible? I repeated. Yeah. Jordan needs space for his innovation initiatives, you understand? And honestly, at this stage in your career, you're more valuable as institutional memory than active leadership. You know, like a senior advisor role. Institutional memory, that's what you call someone you're trying to make disappear without actually firing them. What about the acting SVP designation? I asked. He waved his hand dismissively. We'll figure that out after the merger closes. Right now, we need energy. Jordan brings energy, you bring stability, different skill sets. The SEC filings still list me as primary compliance officer. Details, Tom. Legal will clean that up. Don't worry about it. But I was worrying about it because Ron clearly wasn't. I walked out of his office and went back to my basement corner, sat down at that folding table, opened a new document on my laptop, and started a file I titled Timeline and Documentation. First entry, May 2024. Jordan Pierce hired. No securities license, no FINRA registration, no SVP approval. I saved it, backed it up to 3 different drives. Then I got back to work, the kind of work Ron thought didn't matter anymore. The kind of work that keeps a firm from collapsing. Jordan's first major presentation happened 2 weeks after he took my office. He called it an all-hands meeting, mandatory attendance. I sat in the back of the conference room watching him set up. He had a MacBook covered in crypto stickers, a wireless presenter, and enough confidence to fill a stadium. The lights dimmed. His presentation appeared on the screen. Dynamic Wealth Optimization, AI-powered risk assessment for the modern era. I almost choked on my coffee. He clicked to the first slide, a stock photo of a young guy in a suit looking thoughtfully at charts. Very inspiring. Traditional risk models are obsolete, Jordan announced, pacing the front of the room. We've been operating with outdated frameworks that don't account for real-time market dynamics. So I developed something revolutionary. The next slide showed a flowchart. My flowchart. The crisis management protocol I'd built in 2008 when Lehman Brothers collapsed and everyone was panicking. The same system that had saved our clients millions. He'd taken my 52-page operational manual, copied the key diagrams, slapped them into 6 slides with different colors, and added buzzwords like predictive analytics and machine learning integration. This framework, he continued, uses generational insight combined with algorithmic forecasting to predict market volatility before it happens. Generational insight, that's what he called 18 years of experience and pattern recognition. One of the partners, George Hartwell, leaned forward. This is brilliant. Why didn't we think of this before? We did, in 2008. I built it. George knew that. He'd been there. But nobody said anything. They just nodded and took notes while Jordan explained my own system back to me with worse terminology. After the meeting, I went back to my basement corner and added another entry to my documentation file. October 15th, 2024, Jordan Pierce presents Proprietary Risk Model. Actually, TB Crisis Protocol from 2008 repackaged without attribution or understanding of underlying methodology. I attached screenshots of his presentation next to my original documentation. Saved it. Backed it up. The Wall Street Journal ran a piece about him 3 days later. Rising star in wealth management brings fresh thinking to traditional firm. I printed it out, added it to my files, then the really stupid stuff started. Jordan decided we needed to modernize our portfolio strategy with something he called DeFi wealth optimization, decentralized finance, cryptocurrency, blockchain assets. He pitched it in a partner meeting. I wasn't invited, but Casey Williams told me about it afterward. Casey was 29, one of our junior analysts. Smart guy, finance, degree from Texas A&M, actually understood investment instruments. He'd been with us for 4 years, and I'd mentored him through some complex client situations. Good kid who reminded me of the young airmen I used to train, eager to learn, respectful of experience, willing to put in the work. He found me in the basement that afternoon looking worried. Tom, he wants to convert client portfolios into crypto assets, he said quietly. Real portfolios, real money. He's talking about moving $150 million into DeFi protocols. Did he run it by legal? I asked. He said legal departments are where innovation goes to die. His exact words. I closed my laptop. Casey, are you documenting these meetings? Should I be? Yeah, you should be. Just notes. Dates, times, who said what. Keep them somewhere safe. He nodded slowly. Tom, what's happening here? Jordan's building a house of cards, I said, and Ron's too busy trying to be cool to notice. Just keep your head down and document everything. The DeFi pitch didn't go through, but only because one of the partners asked how we'd explain cryptocurrency volatility to our 72-year-old clients. Jordan said we'd educate them on digital ownership paradigms. That's when the partner laughed, not with him, at him. But Ron backed him up, said we needed to think bigger and embrace disruption. Next came the VR Client Center. Jordan convinced Ron to spend $180,000 on a metaverse engagement space. Said we needed to meet clients in immersive virtual environments because that's where finance was heading. They built it on the 15th floor. Fancy VR headsets, motion sensors, the whole setup. Jordan posted a video tour on LinkedIn, got 30,000 views and 2,000 likes. The center sat empty for 3 months. Turns out our clients, mostly in their 60s and 70s, preferred meeting in actual rooms where they could see actual people managing their actual money. But the worst part wasn't the wasted money or the stupid ideas. It was what Jordan started doing in July, about 2 months after he got comfortable in his role. He started signing things, contracts, transfer authorizations, trading permissions, all with his signature, his title, his authority. I first noticed it when I was reviewing routine compliance reports in August. Saw his signature on a client authorization form, then another, then a dozen more. By September, he was signing everything that came across his desk. Asset transfers, portfolio rebalancing approvals, even contracts with outside vendors. I pulled one up on my screen, stared at his signature on the authorization line, right above where it said Authorized Officer. Except he wasn't an authorized officer. Not according to FINRA, not according to the SEC, not according to any of the regulatory agencies that actually mattered. I called Brian Martinez. We'd served together in the Air Force back when we were both a lot younger. Now he was with the SEC, working enforcement. Brian understood what it meant when someone violated chain of command, or, in this case, regulatory authority. Brian, I said when he picked up, hypothetical question. I hate when you start conversations like that. If someone's signing trading authorizations without being a registered principal, what happens? Silence on the line. Then, how many authorizations are we talking about? Hypothetically, maybe 40 or 50 documents over 4 months. Tom, that's not hypothetical territory. That's fraud territory. Who's signing? I'll let you know if it becomes non-hypothetical, I said, and hung up. I went back to my documentation file, started a new section. Unauthorized signatures, July to October 2024. Every document Jordan had signed since July. 4 months of unauthorized signatures. It took him 2 months in the role to start feeling confident enough to sign things on his own. Now he was signing everything. I cross-referenced each document against FINRA requirements for authorized principals. 90-day designation process, Series 24 exam, regulatory approval. Jordan had none of it. 47 separate documents. When I mapped out all the regulatory violations, I counted over 60 distinct problems. Every trade he'd approved, every contract he'd authorized, every client agreement he'd executed, technically invalid. And we were still in the middle of that $650 million merger. The SEC was still reviewing everything. Every signature, every authorization, every single officer designation had to be perfect. My name was still on all the official paperwork as acting SVP, primary compliance officer, the one with actual authority. Jordan was signing documents like he owned the place, but legally he was just an employee with a fancy title and zero authority. I saved everything, backed it up, made sure I had copies in 3 different places. Then I waited. Because I knew something Ron and Jordan didn't know. Something they'd forgotten in their rush to be innovative and disruptive and modern. The house always wins when you're playing with cards you don't own. The breaking point came on a Wednesday afternoon in late October. I was in my basement corner reviewing merger compliance documents when my phone buzzed. Email from Helen Morrison. Helen's 71 years old, runs a small manufacturing company in East Texas. Tough as nails, sharp as broken glass. She'd been our client for 12 years, and in all that time, I'd never seen her panic about anything. She reminded me of the senior master sergeants I'd worked with. people who'd seen everything and weren't easily rattled. The subject line said, "Urgent. Call me immediately." I called. "What the hell is this?" she said instead of hello. "No pleasantries with Helen. What's what?" "I just got a proposal from your new hotshot. Something about tokenized asset optimization and blockchain wealth acceleration. 35 pages of nonsense that makes 0 sense. And at the bottom, there's an authorization to move forward with implementation. Already signed." My stomach dropped. Signed by who? Jordan Pierce, Chief Digital Strategy Officer, says he's authorized to execute strategic portfolio modifications. Tom, is this real? Because if it is, I'm pulling my money today. Send it to me, right now. The PDF came through 30 seconds later. I opened it on my laptop. It was worse than I thought. Jordan had created an entire proposal to convert Helen's company stock into blockchain-based tokens. Something about creating liquidity events through decentralized ownership frameworks. It would have exposed Helen's company to massive regulatory risk, potential SEC violations, and could have tanked her stock price. And at the bottom, Jordan's signature on a line that said authorized for implementation. He'd signed it like he had authority to restructure a client's entire corporate structure. I stared at that signature for a long time. This wasn't just unauthorized trading anymore. This was client endangerment. This was exactly the kind of reckless decision-making that destroyed firms and ruined lives. "Helen," I said, "give me 24 hours. Don't do anything yet. 24 hours, Tom. Then I'm gone." She hung up. I sat there in that basement, fluorescent lights flickering above me, surrounded by boxes of old files, and something shifted. This wasn't about my office anymore. This wasn't about my parking spot or my pride or 18 years of being overlooked. This was about Jordan doing real damage to real people, to clients who trusted us, to a firm that used to mean something. I opened my secure documentation folder, started going through everything I'd collected over the past 5 months. The April board memo appointing me acting SVP, the SEC filings listing me as primary compliance officer, the FINRA designations showing I was still the authorized principal. Every document Jordan had signed without authority, every unauthorized trade, every invalid contract. 47 documents, over 60 regulatory violations, all during an active SEC merger review. And now this. A proposal that could destroy a client's company, signed by someone with no legal authority to sign anything. I picked up my phone, called Brian. "I need to know something," I said when he answered. If someone's been signing unauthorized documents during an SEC merger review and those documents create liability for clients, what happens? "Tom, we've had this conversation. That's not hypothetical anymore. That's criminal territory. I'm not asking you to do anything. I'm asking you to be ready." "Ready for what?" "For when I light the flare." I hung up and opened a new document. Spent the next 4 hours writing what would become the most precisely worded email I'd ever written. No anger, no accusations, no emotion at all. Just facts laid out like evidence in a courtroom. Subject: Regulatory Compliance Inquiry. Officer Authority. Documentation: Immediate review required. I addressed it to Lisa Hayes, our in-house legal counsel. Harvard Law, 12 years of securities work, the kind of lawyer who breaks out in hives when she sees regulatory violations. The email was 3 paragraphs, short, surgical. Paragraph 1 reminded her that I was appointed acting SVP in April, that the appointment was never formally revoked, and that I remained listed as primary compliance officer on all SEC and FINRA filings. Paragraph 2 noted that during the current merger review, all officer designations must be accurate and that all signatures must come from properly authorized principals. Paragraph 3 requested clarification on the current status of officer designations, specifically regarding any additional authorized principals who may have been added since April. Then I attached everything. The April board memo, the SEC Form ADV showing my designation, the FINRA registration showing no other authorized principals, and then, one by one, every document Jordan had signed, 47 documents, each one time-stamped, each one cross-referenced against the regulatory requirements he hadn't met. At the bottom, I added one line. "Please advise on current compliance status regarding unauthorized signatures during active SEC review period." I saved it as a draft, didn't send it yet. It was 11 p.m. I was still in my basement office, but I wasn't tired. I felt the way I used to feel in the Air Force right before a mission. Calm, focused, ready. I went home, fed my dog, made a sandwich I didn't eat. Then I went to my garage workshop. I'd been building a gun cabinet for the past 3 months. Walnut wood, traditional joinery, the kind of project that requires patience and precision. The kind of thing where you can't rush or force it. You just have to trust the process and let the work be what it is. I spent 2 hours in that garage, sanding and fitting joints, making sure everything was square and true. Not thinking about Jordan or Ron or the firm, just focusing on the work in front of me, the way my dad taught me when I was a kid. Around 1 o'clock a.m., I cleaned up my tools, turned off the lights, and went inside. Set my alarm for 4:30 a.m. The email was going to send at 4:47 a.m., early enough to hit inboxes before market open, early enough that Lisa would see it before anyone could tell her not to look. I added 2 more recipients to the draft. The SEC liaison assigned to our merger review and the compliance officer for the European firm trying to acquire us. 3 people, 3 inboxes, 3 people who would have no choice but to act once they saw what was in those attachments. I read the email one more time, checked every attachment, made sure every link worked and every document was properly labeled. No mistakes, no gaps, no room for anyone to claim this was unclear or ambiguous or misunderstood. Just facts, just documentation, just the truth about what had been happening for 5 months while everyone was too impressed with Jordan's LinkedIn followers to notice he was breaking federal law. I hovered my mouse over the schedule send button, thought about my shadow box in the trash, about my office becoming an innovation hub, about 18 years of loyalty repaid with a basement, corner, and a folding table. Thought about Helen Morrison and her company nearly destroyed by a proposal from someone who thought blockchain was a magic solution to problems he didn't understand. Thought about Casey and the other junior analysts who were learning that competence didn't matter if you weren't cool enough or young enough or connected enough. I clicked the button. 4:47 a.m. scheduled, locked in. Then I went to bed and slept better than I had in months. Because the flare was lit and there was no putting it out. The rest happened fast. By 8:30 a.m., my phone was buzzing with emergency texts. By 10 a.m., FINRA had frozen all trading activity pending verification of authorized principals. By noon, the merger firm was pulling out. Jordan was escorted out that same day. Ron announced his retirement 10 days later. FINRA hit Jordan with a 3-year ban and a $95,000 fine. 4 firms called me within a week. The 4th call was from a private equity firm offering me chief risk officer at $420,000 base plus equity, about 35% more than I'd been making before this mess. Casey came with me, said he wanted to learn from someone who actually knew how to do the work. 6 months later, I'm sitting in my new office, a real office with windows and proper furniture, watching Casey present our new compliance framework to a room full of partners. He's using the same methodical approach I taught him, the same attention to detail the Air Force drilled into me. The industry calls me the watchdog now. I speak at compliance conferences, consult with regulatory agencies, help other firms avoid the mistakes Sterling made. But the best part isn't the money or the recognition. It's watching Casey and the other young analysts learn that doing things right isn't old-fashioned. It's essential. Last weekend, I finished that gun cabinet in my garage. Solid walnut, hand-cut dovetails built to last generations. I hung my Air Force shadow box inside it, right next to my grandfather's hunting rifle. 3 generations of men who understood that some things don't change. Integrity, service, doing the job right. Jordan's probably still in Austin somewhere, trying to convince some other company that he's an innovator. But innovation without foundation is just chaos, and chaos always collapses eventually. I pour myself a bourbon, Maker's Mark, the good stuff, and think about the call I got from Helen Morrison last week. She wanted to thank me for saving her company. Tom, she said, you reminded me why we pay professionals. Not for the flash, but for the fundamentals. I take a sip. Still tastes like victory. But more than that, it tastes like a job well done.